So here we have my backyard composting operation located in the heart of Louisville in Camp Taylor. Let's take a little tour here. Here's Mabel. So right here under the tarp we've got my mature compost pile, and that's why I've got it protected from the elements, more or less.
So just a little bit about me. I am a stay-at-home dad. Really fortunate to be able to do that as a family, and it obviously frees me up to pursue my passion of composting. So I really appreciate that as well. 5,000 pounds of organic waste, and that's going to yield 500 pounds of mature, ready-to-use compost. So it's basically taking something that was garbage and is now a very valuable resource. With your fresh scraps, the first thing you want to do is cover it up with some compost, and that's going to start the decomposition process on all this stuff that we just took off the truck. So you'll see a lot of this stuff that I'm shoveling on. Some of it I just added last Friday. You can see even the stuff from, sorry Mabel, last week is already taken on this nice rich dark color. And now that we're getting deeper into the pile, you're starting to see some steam come up. And steam's going to be your indicator of just a really robust pile which is decomposing rapidly.
So we've got one can already spread out, covered with compost. You can definitely tell how much the dogs love the pineapples, because they've already been taken out for safekeeping.
Filled pretty much to the brim. Mabel, you better watch out, girl. Mabel, go on. Go on. Go. Go. This can was at capacity. Coffee grounds are actually one of the quickest to decompose sources of scraps for your compost pile that you can find. We're just trying to get all of this into a more or less uniform layer. If I see any debris, I'll take that off. Anything in here that won't decompose, you know, it'll keep on showing up. This is powerful stuff here. You've got just billions upon billions of microorganisms here that are doing the work for us, making all of this into usable compost. Hardest working compost right here. All right, this is where the magic happens. All right, this stuff on the outside of the pile is going to be a lot cooler in temperature than the stuff on the inside, and so it's going to take a while for it to interact with the fresh scraps and the active compost to heat up again.
A good rule of thumb is anything you put in the compost pile is going to be fully decomposed in about 30 to 45 days.
So now we're really getting into the heart of the pile, where it's been built up the tallest, and you can see some steam coming off of it. Just to describe the smell coming off of this, you know, it may look like it's rotting, but it's not an unpleasant smell at all. It's a little bit like manure, horse manure, so it's really not offensive. If anything, it makes it smell a little bit like a farm back here, which is fine by me, and you know, the neighbors are cool with it. So here you have it. Let's see if we can just get some get some more steam going here. 'Cause this is where it's generating just the most heat. Dogs love this too because they get to sample stuff that's been ripening in the pile for a while. Yeah. And you can also see in here as well, every once in a while, a lot of this is fully decomposed, but every once in a while you'll notice stuff like this. We got that's a cantaloupe rind, and this is actually, it's almost too hot to handle right now. And you've got a pineapple, which is about halfway decomposed. It's probably been in the pile a couple weeks. So, I'm trying to mix in plenty of stuff from the outside of the pile in with all of this super hot stuff from the middle. You want to just have a good balance. So there's plenty of airflow. If it was once a plant, it can be composted. So, you follow a few simple general rules about composting, you can't go wrong. As I cover it up with other stuff, but you get the picture. So, some more of this moved.
Let's talk compost.
You're on TV.
So you're standing in your compost pile that is freshly turned.
Yes.
You spent the afternoon turning it and adding new ingredients. Would you call them ingredients?
Absolutely, I would call them ingredients. A lot of times I'll just refer to them as scraps. I guess if you want to be real professional about it, you can call it organic waste.
So the pile that you're standing on, how long have you been working this pile?
Let's see. I think I originally started this pile from the ground up about 6 months ago. So I've just been continuously adding stuff to it in the past 6 months, and it's hard to say just how much I put in here because it's continuously breaking down and decomposing. When it's completely decomposed, it'll be about 10% of what it was.
And then you obviously have your little helpers here that...
That's right. Tucker? Hush, that'll be enough.
That's helping the process along.
Exactly, yes. Mabel is probably our most enthusiastic assistant. We don't always see eye to eye on which parts of the pile should be turned at one time, but it all works out.
How long would you say you've started this process?
I have been actively composting for 7 or 8 years. Since I've been able to start putting truckloads of scraps in at a time, I've really been able to grow the operation. Grass clippings in the summer and leaves in the fall. Those work really well together in a compost pile, and it's a really good way to build up the volume in your compost pile to where it's going to generate some good heat. You just don't want too much of it layered in. If you're not all that familiar with the benefits of compost, it's really just an amazing material. First and foremost, you can use it as a fertilizer. It is just nutrient rich, and unlike a commercial fertilizer, it's not just gonna blast your garden with a big hit of fertilizer and then nothing. The fertilizer, the nutrients in compost actually break down a whole lot more gradually over time. So instead of having to reapply and reapply fertilizer, you can just put a top dressing of compost about 1 to 2 inches on your soil, and you're good for the season in some cases. The other great thing about compost, in addition to being a great fertilizer, is it's an amazing soil amendment. If you ever have poor soil, clay soil, sandy soil, anything like that, adding compost to that is going to improve the drainage of it for your clay soils, and conversely, for the sandy soils, if you add compost to that, it's going to help your plants root better. So basically, whatever state your soil is in, adding compost to it is going to bring it back into like a natural equilibrium. To come by anytime, weekday, weekend, just email me. We'll arrange a time to visit. Come on by, take a sample of mature compost for your garden. Take a sample of active compost if you'd like to start a compost pile in your own backyard. If you have any questions about composting, if you've tried a compost pile before and it hasn't worked out for whatever reason, let me know, and I might be able to help you out.